Following the heartbreaking search for the teen, she was last seen April 5th, dropped off at her boyfriend's house in Inkster. Her phone pinged in Westland the very next morning, and she was reported missing 3 days later. Now, on April 17th, police raiding the boyfriend's home. Now, nearly 3 weeks later, her body has been discovered in Southfield.
Neighbors say a single mom and her 3 children live at the home where London's body was reportedly found in an SUV outside. They say that the SUV had been sitting there for 2 weeks. When I rang the doorbell, someone called out, "No comment."
I went to Beach Elementary with her and Hilbert Middle School. It's not far from here. Yeah, and it was affecting me because I didn't believe it at first until I found out they found her phone in the complete opposite area she was. And I didn't know how to feel. I never had somebody like die that I knew, like myself. Like I had family members, but I didn't really know them. And this is the first person that ever is gone now that I personally knew.
How she ended up here and why.
Yeah, you know, that's the $1 million question. What connection did she have to this area? Of course, we heard from her friend where she went to school. We know that she was from Inkster. But again, how did she end up here? Was she killed here and then left here? Was she brought here? How long has she been deceased? I mean, there are so many questions. Of course, how was she killed? Police, of course, having to try to figure out all of this. But
Jasmine Bennett had to bury her daughter, London Thomas, on the same day she gave birth to her.
It is a waking nightmare to have your child that you carried for 10 full months to be ripped away from you.
London's father, Cedric Salisbury, says this is the hardest thing his family has had to face.
We thank everybody who gave us the time to, try to find London. And we hate that everything happened the way it happened, but today we just need justice.
We want justice. She didn't deserve that. No child deserves this.
So a lot of support, so it makes it a lot easier to deal with. London had a beautiful laugh, a beautiful smile. She was an all-around beautiful person.
She loved everyone. And by this turnout, from what you see, her love spread far.
I'm gonna get the last laugh. Crazy that I rap, I was the nigga to make the class laugh. Full court press and I can't let them nigga pass half. Yeah, come on. The gun click, switch to the other clip. I got
one of the individuals who's being detained has nothing to do with the London Thomas matter.
A 23-year-old man with whom Thomas was in a relationship and whose home was raided 2 weeks ago in connection to the case is believed to be the last person to see her alive.
It's been a while since we've covered the London Thomas case, and today I want to walk you through public records I was able to obtain regarding Jalen Pendergrass. The public records address the question that keeps coming up. What was the false police report that Jalen Pendergrass allegedly filed that could potentially land him in prison for 4 years? Now, these are public records, so I'm not showing anything that isn't allowed on YouTube. It's all public information. But before we get into that, I do want to give you some quick background on Jalen Pendergrass. Now, according to London's family, Jalen Pendergrass was the alleged 23-year-old boyfriend of 17-year-old London Thomas. But Jalen's attorney has clarified that he was London's ex-boyfriend and that they were not currently in a relationship at the time of her passing. Regardless of that distinction, London's body was tragically found in an SUV on April the 25th, 2025. Now, many people have wondered if 17-year-old London Thomas was dropped off by her older sister at her alleged boyfriend's house in Inkster, Michigan on April the 5th, then how did her body end up in an SUV parked in Southfield, Michigan, just 4 blocks from her own home? Even more disturbing, neighbors say the SUV had been parked there for over 2 weeks. But so far, police have not answered that question publicly. What we do know is this. London had gone over to her older sister's house, reportedly to get her hair done. Afterward, her sister dropped her off in Inkster, Michigan at Jalen Pendergrass' home on April the 5th, 2025. The next morning, April the 6th, London's family started to grow concerned. She hadn't called back for a ride like she normally would. They tried calling her and pinging her phone, but they couldn't reach her. The ping led them to a strange location, and that's when their worries started to deepen. After exhausting all efforts to locate London, they finally filed a missing persons report 3 days later on April the 8th. Now, since Jalen was the last person known to be with London, he became a person of interest. As part of their investigation, police conducted a data extraction on his phone, and that uncovered some troubling information. Because of what was found in his phone records, law enforcement carried out 2 separate raids on his home. Now, before I walk you through what was actually in those public records and explain the false police report that Jalen allegedly filed, here's a quick update about Jalen Pendergrass. Jalen Pendergrass was charged with filing a false police report and given a $25,000 bond. As of May the 5th, he posted bond and was released from Oakland County Jail. Now, we also know that his mother, Charlotte Pendergrass, was also charged. She is facing a charge of lying to a peace officer in connection with the London Thomas case. Now, she's currently out. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and take a look at these reports that, of course, are public information. This is the Oakland County Sheriff Office. This is Jalen Pendergrass booking card. So on here, it just indicates the significance of the report is that it states that Jalen Pendergrass, and you'll see it under the name here, his birthplace, Southfield, Michigan. Now, in addition to this, it also states that Jalen is a Christian. That's his religion that he identifies as, and he's single. In addition to this, it goes on to state that Jalen Pendergrass, the date and the officer that this booking photo was done was on May the 4th, 2025. So this was the date that Jalen was booked in. And it also indicates here that the offense information, it states that that was for a false report of a felony. He had bond. Of course, we all know that he was able to post that bond May the 4th, 2025. And this was the case comments that he was required to get an ankle monitor prior to being released. Now, it also indicates that Jalen was to have court. It says bond type, the amount, the condition, court date, May the 19th. So for anyone watching this in the future, today is May the 21st. So his court would have occurred 2 days ago, and then it identifies the police agency for this amount. The significance here in going over this, of course, as we know, Jalen Pendergrass, his attorney spoke out and said that the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office was grasping at straws to try to pin something on Jalen to hold him beyond the initial 48-hour standard hold. That's what his attorney said. His attorney said that they had nothing to hold Jalen in London's case, and they were trying to find something to see what would stick. So by his attorney, they said they went and they dug something up to stick it on him. So this here indicates what is interesting is that it says that the birthplace is in Southfield, Michigan. Now, of course, from past videos, Southfield, Michigan to Inkster, Michigan. So London was dropped off to Inkster, where Jalen lives. London's body, however, as I said, was discovered in Southfield, Michigan, which is Jalen's birthplace. And also the attorney previously spoken out, and that's only about a 30-minute drive. So people, this is all within, although it's about 25, 35-minute drive, it's all within the same area. But the attorney previously spoken out about the house. And what Jalen's attorney said is that there should be a greater investigation into the house where Thomas' body was found. It indicates that where her body was found in Southfield, his clients, which is Jalen Pendergrass and his mother, Charlotte Pendergrass, has no connection to that house. Somebody explain to me how a body can sit for 2 weeks, not in the street, but in a driveway of someone's house. Whose car is that? Whose house is that? Why are we not talking to these people, and why are they not under arrest? He said. Charlotte Pendergrass, of course, was expected back in court, but as we know, Jalen's booking card reveals that he was also born in Southfield, Michigan, which again, that's not an indication that he was connected to this house. I'm just pointing out what's on this booking photo. Now, moving on, this is where we get into the report, and this is what I want you guys to pay attention to. Now, this is the publicly available police report that goes over the false report that was filed. So on this report, it states that this occurred August the 11th, 2021, and you'll see this information right here on your screen. On the report, it indicates that there was damage to a 2005 Nissan Maxima. The damage was the broken rear passenger window. And this officer says that he was dispatched to the Walmart parking lot for a suspicious incident. The officer arrived and he was advised by a passerby that they observed glass on the ground near a Nissan Maxima. The reporting party, the RP, observed that the back window was broken out. The reporting party did not stay. So someone called in, made a call, and said that it seems suspicious that this 2005 gray Nissan Maxima was setting out in Walmart's parking lot and the rear window appeared to be broken out. When the officer arrived, his observation was that he located the reference vehicle in the parking lot 5 facing north. The near passenger window had been broken out and the glass was on the ground outside of the car. He observed glass along the back seat, indicating that the glass was broken from outside. There was no one around the vehicle at this time. So when he arrived on the scene, he reported that he observed this window being busted out from this car from the rear side, but there was no one there. So the owner was not initially there. So the police officer says that he attempted to make contact with the driver. He ran the license plate, ran the vehicle, and he observed that he attempted phone contact with him and he was unsuccessful initially. He found him, he contacted him via phone. He advised that he was inside and then once he made contact with the driver of the vehicle and the driver told him, hey, I'm inside, and then the officer told the driver about the broken window. The driver then comes out to the parking lot. The driver checks the vehicle, and this is where you guys need to pay attention to, because after the driver checks the vehicle, the driver then tells the officer that something from inside of the vehicle is missing. So after this, he advised that the driver tells the officer that he parked in the parking lot. Keep in mind that this is a military time, so converted, it's 1:15 and had not been back to the vehicle since. He checked his vehicle and he advised that nothing else was missing. He advised that he wanted to press charges for the larceny and MDOP, which is malicious destruction of property. I provided him with a report number. So this indicates that Jalen Pendergrass, of course, informed the police officer that he wanted to press charges for whatever he came out and noticed was missing from inside his vehicle. Now, the report does not indicate exactly what was missing from inside of the vehicle, but whatever was missing, Jalen Pendergrass wanted to press charges for that, for what was missing, and for the malicious destruction of property. Okay, so moving forward, it states here that on today's date, which was April the 1st of 2024, the detective was assigned the investigation to follow up with. He read the original report and that he read the responding officer checklist. Okay, so then on August the 15th, when this was assigned to him, he called and he spoke with Jalen about the incident. Now, the conclusion, the report was updated with the person, the owner, the page, offense, and vehicle information to a LFA, which is the larceny from auto. Now, the status of the report at this time, back on August the 15th, it was closed out pending further information. Now, it does state that they came in here and they made an update on October the 22nd, 2024. They updated the value on window for MICR. Okay. Then it states here on April the 29th, 2025, this is how they made the connection, or this is when this was updated. So please pay attention to this. Now, on April the 29th, 2025, the detective states that he was informed by Michigan State Police that they recovered. So whatever Jalen, back when they responded to Walmart on August the 11th, when Jalen reported that something was missing, stolen from the vehicle, this detective was informed April the 29th that whatever Jalen reported that was missing was retrieved. Now, going to the next report, it states here, and this is just a standard cover page, and it's just the Michigan State Police. It states here that this was the detective, and it states that there was the related case here from Oakland. So now we're getting into this report. The initial contact, April the 29th, 2025, the detective states that he was contacted by Michigan State Police detective. The detective informed him that during the course of the investigation involving a missing person report, and you'll see that word there, they recovered. I was informed that was originally reported stolen, which was filed on August the 4th of 2024. I was informed that there was recovered involving the Michigan State Police, the Detroit Police Department, and FBI, which occurred on April the 8th, 2025 at the location of Michigan. This was, and the reported was at the inside the residence. I was also informed that the significance of what this is saying. It states that this detective on April 29th, he was contacted. The Michigan State Police contacted him and let him know that when Jalen made that police report back in August of 2024, and when he reported that something was missing out of the car, that when the Michigan State Police, during the course of the investigation for London Thomas case, because we know that there were 2 raids that was done on Jalen Pendergrass' house, as I stated, during that raid, they recovered the missing item that Jalen had filed the police report from, and said that someone with malicious intent had stolen it from his vehicle. Now, when they go to do the raid during the course of the investigation for London Thomas on his home, they recover what he said was stolen. So based on this, now remember, his attorney said they have nothing on him from the London Thomas case, and they're grasping for straws to try to find something to stick. So now they put the pieces of the puzzle together to say that you reported that this was missing or was stolen, and we actually retrieved it during the raid on your home. Because you filed this false police report, which is a felony and could land you in prison for 4 years, this warrant was processed and sent over to the prosecutor office for review. Of course, the prosecutor office, Wayne County, Kim Worthy's office, elected at that time to file charges against Jalen Pendergrass. So if you look here at this next report here, it states that this was on May the 3rd, 2025, 2:17. Okay, it says that it was a traffic arrest warrant, because as you saw there, it basically said that the conclusion, based on the received information of the reported being recovered inside the residence involving Detroit Police Department of the location, this case will be sent to prosecuting attorney for review, submitted to county for review. At the bottom of this, May the 3rd, it says warrant drop off. Okay. So as you saw on the booking photo, May the 4th, he was booked in. So this took no time. From May the 3rd, May the 4th, they conducted a traffic arrest warrant. May the 4th, it says right here, report date taken May the 3rd. occurrence, date, and time. And it states here that the occurrence date and time was May the 3rd, 2025, 2:17. And it states prisoner detail. It was the county is Oakland. It says description on here, uniform, and it says the officer responded to the police to take custody of Michigan State Police Department and the U.S. Marshals had located, and they did the arrest. I took custody in the booking area, was searched numerous times, booked, and lodged into cell. So then it goes on to state that the officer it was advised that the attorney, so Jalen's attorney was in the lobby of the police department. He requested to speak with his client. He met with the attorney who provided the necessary information. Officers then assisted with Jalen to be able to meet with the attorney without incident. He documented the visit in the visitation law. It says that at that time he went to court. He was in front of the judge. He was issued the cash bond, which we all know of $25,000 or 10% cash surety. And it also says that he has to obtain, a GPS tether before being released. He was transported to the Oakland County Jail on 5/4 at 1200 hours. He was handcuffed in the front using a belly restraint. The transport went without incident. So that is what we know now, is that the felony false police report is because of the police responding to a suspicious vehicle, at a Walmart. Jalen being contacted as the owner of the vehicle. Jalen reporting that something was stolen from his vehicle, whatever was stolen, just as I stated, during the course of London Thomas investigation, the raid that was conducted on the house, they retrieved this, they forwarded it to the prosecutor's office. Just like I said, the prosecutor's office elected to go ahead and pick up the charges. Now, I've covered this case on my page. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to check out the previous videos. Now, in addition to this question keeps coming up about this person, this other man who is alleged to be London Thomas' biological father. He shares the same last name as London. He lives in Vegas. So London, allegedly, she lived, in Michigan. It says that her body was recovered in Southfield, Michigan. The guy, Cedric Salisbury, who has been on the news and very vocal on the news, who said that he is London's father, he told the news that her body was reportedly found 4 blocks from her residence. So the body was located, unfortunately, her body was located in Southfield, Michigan. And what he stated is that was 4 blocks from her residence. Now, this man comes forward and he said London Thomas only has one father, and he is her father. And I am going to show the video. Now, I'm going to also, you'll see photos here. He's had various photos over the years of London Thomas posted to his page. And here is also a recent photo of, it looked to be more recent, of him and London together. Of course, London's last name is Thomas. His last name is Thomas. So this is the video. I know a few people were questioning and wanting to see this video. So I'm going to go ahead and.
My daughter been on my heavy. She's been missing for a week now, and I know the Most High is going to see to it that things happen, things get done. It's His will. I just ask everybody to continue to, be supportive with her mom, myself. I know there's been people all over the news and things of that nature. London, has one dad. Her dad's name is Jalen Thomas. And I appreciate anybody that's willing to help. I will be coming to Detroit soon. I thank everybody for sharing posts, whether in Detroit or out here in Vegas. Thank everybody. And I just wanted to take the time to read the prayer of
Okay, so you just heard from the man that states that he is London Thomas' biological father. He said, regardless of who's coming forward, London Thomas only has one father. Now, of course, from my last video, in that video, I had posted that Cedric Salisbury, the man who went on the news and presented himself to be the father, and the mother has not contested it, that he was the father. But this man, of course, has come forward. So I wanted to share this information. Of course, people were leaving comments and saying, with London having 3 father figures in her life, why would she make that post back on March the 5th? Of course, she said, when I needed help and guidance, nobody was there for me. That's why I'm always standing up for the next person, because I never had nobody, but I can't hold this stuff in knowing what I know. So London had posted that, and some people were curious about why she would make that post. However, of course, I can't address that. I can say Darnell Johnson, who is appears to be in a relationship with her mother. They've done news interviews together. He has continued to post. His most recent post he posted May the 12th, but before that, on May the 9th, he said, "Happy birthday, my sweet gone way too soon. I still can't believe this is really happening. You will get justice, my rabbit, rest in heaven." And then he followed up with the subsequent post on May the 12th. And this was heartbreaking. He said, "What does moving forward mean? Because right now I'm numb. I'm going through every emotion right now. I don't know what normal is anymore." And of course, he said that he was London's stepfather, and he's the one that has appeared in the news with her mother. So in addition to this, there's been some follow-up regarding her family stating that London was groomed. They have provided some clarification. So since I initially reported on the post, I wanted to do the follow-up. Remember the post from back in April? It was London's aunt. She made the post. She said, "I'm getting irritated with the negative comments. Yes, she was 17. Yes, the boyfriend is 24. She was groomed for 3 years by this so-called man. Stop pointing fingers and point the fingers at Jalen Pendergrass, because that's where she was dropped off. The Pendergrass family is locked in with the Inkster Police Department, and I'm not stopping until she is found. All that other crap doesn't matter because she is loved and she is missing. Bring London home." So, of course, we all know that this post was made prior to London's body being discovered in the SUV. Now, as a follow-up to that post circulating online, many people have questioned this. So one person left a comment and said, "I'm going to say this. London had been going to that home since she was 14, 15. So this tells me that she didn't want to be at her own home. And a sense his mom probably was guidance for her. Because who allows their 14, 15-year-old to spend the nights at an older boyfriend house with mom and family?" This whole story is very fishy. It's way more to this story. Then the aunt, the same aunt who left the previous post, who made the previous post, she responded and said they wasn't aware. She was being a sneaky teenager. Doesn't mean something was going on at home. So I wanted to provide the follow-up to this, because according to London's aunt, she said that although people have left comments to say, how was the family not aware of it? How were they allowing this? How are you claiming that London was groomed if the sister dropped London off and the mom said that she was aware? Well, in the news interview, what she said was that her older daughter dropped London's off. So a lot of people have speculated to say that was awareness. They allowed it, but the aunt came and clarified from her perspective that no, the London was being a sneaky teenager. At the end of the day, this does not necessarily bring justice for London, but because I initially reported on the post, then I wanted to provide that follow-up there. So I'll continue to keep you guys updated. As always, please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.
Defense to obtain a GPS tether. He may go to court, to work, attorney visits, to school if possible, any medical appointments at all. Obviously, you can address the bond with the next judge at the probable cause conference.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I just have I guess we're done with this. I just had a question, if we're off the record, regarding process, but I'll leave it up to the court if you want me to just place it on the record. It's up to you. Just regarding. I'm assuming he would have to go to Oakland. He would have to go to Oakland County for the tether. Is that correct?
Sergeant Booty,
Yes, that is correct. Shortly after this arraignment, he'll be transported to Oakland County Jail, where that's where he can post the bond and receive the GPS tether from their tether unit. Yes, you are correct, sir.
Okay, and that since it's Sunday, will he get that today, or if you know?
That is a possibility. I have seen it issued before. I do believe they work with a third party contractor on the tether.
Okay.
I do believe I could be wrong and mistaken on that. So I do think there's a possibility he could receive it on a Sunday.
Okay. Thank you both. Thank you, Sergeant. Nothing else, Your Honor. I appreciate it. You and your staff, and Sergeant Booty, have a great day.
Thank you,
Mr. Johnson.
well, sir.
Good luck, Mr. Pendergrass. Thank you, Sergeant.
And Your Honor, I'll email something.
The officer was conducting a criminal investigation, that the defendant did knowingly and willfully make a statement or statements to the office that she knew were false or misleading regarding the following material fact or facts relating to the investigation that London Thomas left 27262 Carlisle, Inkster, Michigan at 7 a.m. on April 5th, 2025 on foot through the front door, alive and well. And the officer was conducting a criminal investigation for kidnapping/homicide. That's a felony punishable by up to 4 years in prison and or a $5,000 fine. That concludes the reading of the charges.
Thank you, Your Honor. With that being said, we will enter a plea of not guilty before this honorable court.
All right, the court will enter a plea of not guilty on behalf of the defendant as to bond.
Your Honor, my client is a lifelong resident, actually, of Wayne County, born and raised here in the city of Inkster. She is not a flight risk. Her family still lives here. Her grandmother and grandfather, who are residents of the city of Inkster, we'd be asking for some type of personal bond in this matter, Your Honor, with the standard conditions.
All right. On behalf of the people?
On behalf of the people, Your Honor, the people would be seeking a high cash bond with a GPS tether. We would be requesting no contact with the London Thomas's family nor any other witnesses in the kidnapping and or homicide investigation into the death of London Thomas. We would also be asking if the defendant has a passport to surrender that passport to the investigating authorities. Your Honor, with regard to the residency as outlined by defense counsel, Ms. Pendergrass has had an address outside of Wayne County in the city of Clawson since 2001. Regarding her being a flight risk, the people are concerned about flight, which is why we're asking for a tether. Ms. Pendergrass was set to turn herself into authorities late last week. Instead of going to the police station, she stopped the car that she was in, got out, and attempted to flee the area on foot. She was then later apprehended by police. Earlier today, we were in front of Judge Knapp with regard to a motion that Mr. Johnson had filed. Mr. Johnson indicated to the court that Ms. Pendergrass would not return to the Carlisle address in the city of Inkster, that she would be going to a different address in a different city. Specifically, she would not return to that Carlisle address because of some concerns with regard to the health and safety of her father. She was, in fact, apprehended at that house that she said she would not be at, where she went directly from where she was released earlier today. People have a concern for flight. And with regard to the high cash bond, people are asking for a high cash bond. Ms. Pendergrass has access to multiple properties, multiple vehicles. She also is, to my understanding, has access to a large family trust. The people are concerned, again, with flight with regard to her financial situation. And then also with regard to the high cash bond, we're asking for that due to likelihood of conviction being quite high. Ms. Pendergrass was interviewed, Mirandized, said what she said, and the people have very strong evidence from phone records, video, that Ms. Pendergrass did in fact lie to the police during this investigation.
All right.
Your Honor, just to clear one thing up, some of this is very insincere in terms of the fact of, yes, I did make a statement to the court earlier today that Judge Knapp, that Ms. Pendergrass would not return to the address on Carlisle. However, I was unaware at the time that Ms. Pendergrass had already been released from custody here in the city of Inkster. I had no communication with her. When I finally had communication with her, I said, you need to go to this address. So to say that she knew not to go there at that point, she was just released, she walked, and that's where she walked to at that point. So that's very insincere.
Is she working? Does she have a job? Does she?
Yes, I'm the caretaker for my, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm a caretaker for my grandparents that need 24-hour care. Jalen and I are helping them along with a few different caregivers.
Okay. So that's your primary employment?
Yes.
And again, Your Honor.
My grandfather can't walk, and my grandmother is very sick, so.
All right.
And Your Honor, this is 4-year felony.